Hello, my friends. Welcome to the next episode of the Gorgeous Gourds project. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to draw Pumpkin 2 and Pumpkin 3. I'll be breaking it down step by step so that you can follow along with the video and see exactly how to complete this drawing and make it look realistic. So let's get started. I'm going to start working on the pumpkin that's up at the top here. So I'm going to first start by finding the medium tones. So I've got one that's right here. Next we've got this little bit of medium tone coming up. It's sort of rectangular in shape. And it comes down and does get a little darker right here in this gap. We've got a couple little spots. Now I'm going to take my blending stump and just work on smoothing that out and sort of adding some texture that way. I'm just sort of smudging back and forth. Now, right over here, I've got this medium tone section that actually does have a little bit of a line going through it. And I'm focusing on adding sort of a rough textury shape. Dips in here, comes out. Got these little lines kind of coming out. I'm gonna try to add as many of these specific details as possible. So right behind this gourd, it's actually quite dark, and we're gonna slowly transition out to medium. All right, so now I'm gonna go back through, and on this whole space, I need to go back in and just smooth out all of that texture that I created when I was adding my pencil layer. And I'm actually gonna use some of that and bring it out to kind of fill in this gap. We've got a little bit of that light value going right through here and also behind this space. So we're gonna start out pretty dark. I'm sort of blending that background in right here, and then I'm just slowly lightening up. And I'm also taking this chance to blend out and kind of soften the marks that I've already made, and then add just a few more smaller dot ones. Now I'm going over on this side and blending out. Now I'm going to come through here and add this lighter tone. And I'm going to try to help this fade out in value. And then right in this space, I'm going to add just another section of light. And I'm going to go through and really lightly try to add in some of these details. I'm gonna make sure that right in this crease where this little point connects that you can see that bump. And then this is just a little bit darker in this corner, so I'm adding that value here, and then kind of coming out and around with this medium tone. I'm gonna come through here and blend out some of this lighter tone. I'm gonna soften some of these marks that I made. I'm gonna go through here and blend this out. Add some of these softer little marks. This edge has just a lighter tone wrapping around it. It goes all the way down. Next up, I'm going to be working on this pumpkin. And we're gonna start on this edge. So I'm going to fill in just a nice darker medium tone to match what I see here. And it should go all the way up to the stem. It is a little bit darker than the background right here, so I'm trying to really mimic that in my image, my drawing. Now for this section, it's got this darker edge kind of outlining the stem, and then it's got a medium tone that's filled in to about here. And then from here, I'd say we could probably use our blending stump to fill in that second tone. So we want this to be darker. This should be a tad bit lighter. And then we're just adding in this edge right here, and then implying that it goes back with another light value. Next, along this edge, we've got just a darker triangle and another triangle that comes up. And then this darker little bit right here. So right here, we've got this medium tone coming up, goes out just a little right here. And then the rest we can probably fill in with our blending stump. So I'm coming back through and smoothing this out. Now I'm transitioning to the lighter value. And I'm trying to make sure that I leave that highlight the same shape that it is on this edge. And then filling in the rest. Next, we've got this darker value that starts here and kind of wraps around the base here. So we're going to bring that highlight all the way out to the edge. There's not that much difference in value here, so I'm sort of blending them together. And then it does fade before it comes over to this edge. So I'm going to fill in this darker value. It's more of a medium. And this line is going up, but it's really just accentuating this U shape. So I'm going to take the graphite from this area and blend that out. And I'm going to leave a little highlight on the side right here. And then this section should be light in value, wrapping all the way around. I also noticed that there's a bit of a darker little line here. Okay, and I'm gonna just fill this in just a little bit darker on this end. Use my blending stump to help fade that out. So next, we are going to fill in this line that's underneath the stem, and that's going to be our darkest little bit, just right here. And then the medium tone is going to wrap around like that. And so we're just sort of showing where it's coming together for the stem, just right on that edge. So now I'm going to take my blending stump, smooth that out, and I'm going to pull out some of that darker value. And I'm going to leave a highlight along this edge that widens and then tapers right here. And then another little highlight right here. And then the rest will be filled in with the medium tone. Just going back through and redefining that edge. Now I'm filling this with medium. Now the trick is going to be to fill it all the way in and not run out. So I'm actually going to go in and add just a little bit more from the dark section over here. And fill in just a little bit more of this value because it's a little bit darker than we had anyway. I'm going to pull out some of that value and try to spread it out to fill this whole space. Now again, I'm going to grab some of this darker value and I'm going to add it in an area where I already need it to be a bit darker. So just right through here is just a little bit darker. And then I'm going to use it to help me kind of fill in the rest of this space. Notice that this is a bit lighter, so I'm actually going to just fill in the shadow on either side. And I'm just lightly implying that there's a line in between those two sections. Now we're working in this area. I do need a bit of a darker section here, but I'm going to add that by stealing some of the value from over here. So I'm just adding in that last outline around the base of the stem. Here's the shadow that's coming from that space, and it comes out here and then back again. Here's a line that's a little darker. This line is a little darker. So I can use that value to help me blend out the rest. So I've got this lighter space, so I'm going to try to lighten up pretty quickly. And the only highlight is right here, so I'm filling in the rest with my lighter tones. Now I want to match and get this just a little bit darker, so I'm stealing some of the value from underneath here, and I'm trying to just darken this space up a bit because I think I could go a bit darker. I also need to help it get darker right along here, so I probably need to add just a little bit more. And it kind of spaces out again from here. Next, I've got this darker section that sort of spaces out. And I'm going to add just a little bit more value going across here. And filling that in just a little bit more because it's not a true highlight. Grabbing a little bit more from here. And this section right through here could use a bit of blending, I think. So now we've got this darker line and a bit of a shadow before showing the edge. Okay, so I'm trying to leave this little lighter highlight, add in the darks, and then fade out to this edge. I'm gonna make this a little darker. Over here, I'm adding in a varnished area and a line that's a bit thicker and darker than the others. So I'm bringing this down by blending it out with my blending stump. And I probably need to have another layer under here to show that it's getting darker right there. Over here, it is quite a bit darker than the background, so I'm trying to really bring out that dark part so that it shows up against here, but I do want to leave that little bit of a highlight. So I'm just filling this in so that it'll have a nice smooth transition, helping it fade out, and then up here I'm also gonna help it fade out just a little bit before I use my blending stump. From here, I'm gonna work on my stem, and I should probably go around it and add in the detail and like the dark shadow that goes back into this space just one more time, because once you've used your blending stump, it does sort of get rid of some of that value. So I'd say that's an important step. Now I'm gonna go through and add some of these important lines, like this edge coming out, so that I can make this darker triangle. I've got a line that comes out here that's about at that same angle. And that's my last long line. I have a skinnier line here that starts as a triangle. And then another one right here. So I notice that the value goes all the way down. And then I've got some like kind of crumbly textures over here. And then I'm just going to use my blending stump to help me make sure this is nice and smooth. And I want to make sure that this edge is a nice clean highlight, so I'm just erasing a little bit right there. And there we go. A big thank you from me and Frida for watching this episode of the Gorgeous Gourds project. I hope it was helpful and that you made some really great progress on your drawing today. And we've only got one more video demonstration left, so let's get to it. Thank you!